Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video I would like to chat about the top 5 books that I have given a 5-star review so far this year. I'm very excited to start dipping my toes back into bookish content. Beauty, like project panning, bookish content, and gardening content are what I watch the most of, followed probably by like new makeup and clean with me videos. I have a very broad like content consumption taste. I like watching a lot of things, so this channel here, MacInnis Mama, is where I just like to chat about whatever's on my mind, whatever I'm enjoying, and I have reignited my love for reading in the last few months. Now, I had a very lofty goal at the beginning of the year for me to read 50 books. Now, in the last few years, I've had very young children. 2020, I had my third baby, and life is very busy, and amongst the pandemic, I did not read a lot of books. I think I read 20 something books last year, so going from that to 50 was a big jump, but I really thought that life would start getting a lot easier. Toddlers are busier than babies, but I thought like the pandemic would be over by now, and I had all these lofty dreams. Well, I have only read 16 books so far this year, so I have 34 more to go before December 31st to meet my goal, so I really need to pick up the pace. And this is for my Goodreads goal. I do have my Goodreads linked down below. I said on my Instagram, I really want to start making some bookish content. This is not going to be a booktuber channel. We'll still have the garden tours, some clean with me's, bookish content, all that kind of stuff. Like I said, this channel is just a mismatch of everything. We are sitting in my beauty space just to quickly film this video. If you're interested in beauty and project painting content, my main channel is linked down below as well. But that's a lot of rambling. I noticed out of the 16 books I've read this year, I gave 5 of them 5 stars. So therefore they must be my top 5 books of the year so far. I would love to do monthly wrap-ups and monthly TBRs, or maybe seasonally. I don't know. Let me know your bookish content suggestions down below. I did ask on my Instagram if you guys wanted to see the mid-year book freakout tag or my top 5 books of the year, and that is what has won. So all that rambling out of the way, let's just hop right in. I only have 2 of the books sitting with me. I either had the other one I gave to my mom to read, and 2 I had gotten from the library. So I'm just going to start off with the one I finished first, which is The Martian by Andy Weir. How did it take me so long to read this book? I've known it has been people's favorites for like 4 years. I've always wanted to watch the movie, which I still have not done. In The Martian, there is a space trip onto Mars to do research through NASA, and then they are hit with a big storm, and their equipment can only weather so much, so when the storm starts to get really bad, they must abandon their mission. Now, Mark Watney is injured on the way to their escape shuttle, and they believe he is dead. So while they did look for him for a very short time, the storm was getting too bad, and if the rest of the crew had any chance to escape, they needed to leave now. Mark Watney was not dead. So this book or movie, if you haven't watched or read, is a survival story of a man on Mars who has to survive with this equipment that has only been designed to hold up for the duration of the experiments and stuff that they need to run, not for potentially years, and hope that he gets rescued. The storm wrecks a lot of things. This was amazing. This is an adult sci-fi, which is not typically my favorite because I can find some of the sci-fi jargon hard to understand, but I felt like I learned so much from this, and apparently Andy Weir did a lot of like real life research for this book. Now, I'm not going to try and survive on Mars and have The Martian as my Bible on how to survive up there or anything, but it was just really fascinating and seemed very realistic to me. I felt like I learned a lot. Hopefully it was all factual. I have no idea. This was such a fun adventure story and I really loved it. Now I definitely need to watch the movie. The next book I gave 5 stars was Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You by Jason Reynolds and Ibram X. Kendi. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. This is a nonfiction book about racism in America. I have been trying to educate myself as much as I can. I'm actually Canadian. There is definitely racism here. That is not what I'm trying to say, but the history of racism in America is very interesting to me in a way that like I didn't grow up with it in that way. This is a very sensitive topic to be tiptoeing around. But this book kind of breaks down the history of it. What happened when slavers brought African people over to the United States to work as slaves on their plantations? What happened when slaves received their liberation, and all of the fighting that they have done and continue to do to be seen equal to the white person. This is making me emotional. I am obviously white. I'm a white Canadian, and this was very heartbreaking to read about. I learned a lot about racism, anti-racism, assimilation, and I want to continue to learn. And I listened to the audiobook of this, which I highly recommend because I believe it's Jason Reynolds that narrates it. It says, "This is not a history book. This is a book about the here and now, a book to help us better understand why we are where we are. It's a book about race. The construct of race has always been used to gain and keep power, to create dynamics that separate and silence. This is a remarkable reimagining of Dr. Ibram X. Kendi's Stamped from the Beginning." This book, Stamped: Racism, Anti-Racism, and You, just kind of breaks down that original book into more digestible. I think that now that I have this under my belt, I have a few other books on racism I would like to read. I would like to circle back around and read the original Stamped, and hopefully I will gain a better understanding of it that way. Again, because this is mostly US history, at least based in these books, a lot of the events kind of get lost on me. There's like dates and presidents and politicians and things like that that kind of went over my head a bit. But Stamped takes you on a race journey from then to now, shows you why we feel how we feel and why the poison of racism lingers. It also proves that while racist ideas have always been easy to fabricate and distribute, they can also be discredited. This was just a really fascinating nonfiction book, and actually out of the 5 books I'm sharing with you, 2 of them are nonfictions, which I found very interesting. But next I read, well, the next 5-star book I have to share with you is Legend Born by Tracy Dion. This is a YA fantasy that is a King Arthur retelling. I was going to say reimagining, I guess that's the same thing. And so after her mother dies in an accident, 16-year-old Bree Matthews wants nothing to do with her family memories or childhood home. A residential program for bright high schoolers at UNC Chapel Hill seems like the perfect escape until Bree witnesses a magical attack on her very first night on campus. A flying demon feeding on human energies. A secret society of so-called legend-born students that hunt the creatures down, a mysterious teenage mage who calls himself a Merlin and who attempts and fails to wipe Bree's memories of everything she saw. This goes on as a very long synopsis on Goodreads, but there are magical tournaments. There are 2 kinds of magic systems in this book. It is based in college, like on a college campus. Your protagonist is 16 years old, so she's like a high schooler on a college campus, but it's not so much about the day-to-day school thing, which I know a lot of people don't like, myself included to an extent, because I'm an adult and the day-to-day school vibe, I'm like happy to be out of that season of life. I just found the two different magic systems so interesting. This book also touches on racism, as our protagonist Bree is a black main character. There is great LGBTQIA plus representation in this book. We have a non-binary character, we have lesbian characters, and overall I just really enjoyed this book. It was extremely fast-paced. It is a series, and the next one is Untitled. I don't know, does it have a release date on here? Expected to be published in 2022. So I will be excited to read that. This left off, okay, I gave it 5 stars because overall I really loved it. For me, it's like more about the feeling, the vibe I get from a book is what my rating is mostly based on, and I loved this book. But the ending is definitely hit and miss, and I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. Some people are like, oh yes, that is awesome, like there's a big twist, and I was kind of blindsided by it. I didn't see it coming. Maybe I was just naive, and it's left me kind of wondering but excited for the next one. The next book I gave 5 stars to was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I did read this in preparation for the Shadow and Bone Netflix series that came out. I have read the first 3 books in the Grishaverse, like the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I read that a while ago and I liked it. It was kind of like a 3.5 star kind of series for me. I liked it, didn't love it. It's very YA fantasy, chosen one trope, and then the Six of Crows duology, so Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, is set in the same Grishaverse, but the characters are not the same. However, the Netflix series kind of combined the 2 series by Leigh Bardugo and made it a bit of a mashup, which has been interesting, but I loved this. So a brief description of this is also YA fantasy. This leans a little bit older than Shadow and Bone, I would say. Not really new adult, but just something I was thinking of. And we are following a band of criminals that live in Ketterdam, and they have been hired to complete a very dangerous heist. And it's this big adventure story. You fall in love with characters that you feel like maybe you shouldn't because they're very bad people, but I found that all the more interesting. So we have a convict with a thirst for revenge, a sharpshooter who can't walk away from a wager, a runaway with a privileged past, a spy known as the Wraith, a heart-trender using her magic to survive the slums, a thief with a gift for unlikely escapes. This is a lot of fun and I can't wait to read Crooked Kingdom. The last book I have given 5 stars to so far this year is another nonfiction, and that is The First Time Gardener, Growing Vegetables, all the know-how and encouragement you need to grow and fall in love with your brand new food garden. If you follow me on this channel, you know I have been trying very hard to grow my very first vegetable garden this year at our new home. And then Jessica Sowards from Roots and Refuge Farm, I will have her channel linked down below, released a book, and I thought this is perfect timing because it is my first year gardening and I've learned so much already from her channel, and I was very happy to support her in getting her book. This was very knowledgeable. I read through this so quickly and I will keep it to reference for years to come, I am sure. But what really pushed me over, not only am I a bit biased I guess because I love the author just based on the videos of hers that I watch, she uploads almost every day, but also I learned a lot. I'm going to keep this around, but what put me like over the edge, like I wish I could give this more than 5 stars, is the photography in this book. I don't want to give too much away because if you do want it, I think you should go buy it yourself. The pictures are stunning all throughout. I guess I'm not picking like the greatest pictures, but the photography in here was amazing and really added to it. I think that it is divided into chapters really well. She breaks down a lot of what you need to know, like soil, when to start seeds, when to plant things, how to solve some of these problems, how to plan, just the very nitty-gritty basics. Now, I did know a lot of this stuff already from watching both her channel as well as others, but it's a great reference. So I'm very happy to have this on my bookshelf. And with that, those are the 5 books that I've given 5 stars to out of the 16 books I have read so far this year. I've had a pretty good reading year. I have not read a single book this year that I really truly didn't like. I have 3 stars and up, which is amazing. That's definitely a change for me. I have big reading plans for the last months of the year. Let me know if you want a July wrap up. I am on my 3rd book already this month, and I definitely plan on picking up the pace and trying really hard to beat my 50 books read this year. I know that may be unimpressive to you if you watch a lot of booktube videos, because there's lots of people in this space that read well over 100 books a year, and I just really don't see that ever being a part of my journey. I would love for that to be my journey at some point and read multiple books a week, but in this season of life with small children and now this larger property to tend to, and you know, all of the momming and house owner things, it just is a lot. And because the kids are small, I can't really listen to audiobooks while I'm doing things around the house because I'm constantly getting interrupted and I always need to rewind. It's just not enjoyable for me unless I am in the shower, cleaning after the kids go to bed, or driving somewhere. Those are the opportunities I get to listen to audiobooks. But I'm going to stop rambling. I hope you guys will enjoy seeing more bookish content from me. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below the last book that you gave 5 stars to, and I'll see you at my next video. Bye.